We know for a fact that the law culture can be tough. It can be tough for faculty, but it can also especially be tough for students. There are generally three questions that we, from a research perspective, have identified that students commonly ask themselves, and they've got to navigate what that means, especially when things are hard. The question that I've mentioned first is, do I belong? When I feel lonely or disrespected, does it mean that I don't? Second question is, can I do it? When things get hard, does it mean that I can't? And the third is, does it matter? When it feels like it's boring or it's distant from what my proximal goals are, is there any reason to try?
Let me just tell you a little more specifically about what we think might be triggering the belonging uncertainty in our environment. The first is this feeling, this perception of hostile competitiveness. Some amount of competition is good and necessary, but they seem to be measuring their self-worth according to other people's success, which is problematic, and feeling that it's hostile. The second thing is this pluralistic ignorance. What that means is the student feels that their experience is uniquely their own. For example, when they're experiencing uncertainty, they're surprised to find that many people in the room are also experiencing uncertainty, and that their professors could identify with that feeling of uncertainty. And the third sort of category is this right way to be a Pitt Law student. They feel like there are certain things that they have to do to be successful, to get it right. And this leads to feelings of FOMO, or fear of missing out, and other concerns were about where they study. If I don't study at the law library, am I missing out? And it also relates to career choices. There's concern about whether they've sold out or whether the school values their choice.
The best way that I've been able to define belonging is that it is the feeling, and I want to double click on the feeling of being cared for and valued. And why I want to really emphasize the feeling of feeling is because it is entirely a subjective experience that you can't guarantee. I wish I could be up here today and have a slide with a list of 10 things that if you did, you could guarantee that your students felt like they belonged. I can't do that because it's not how it works. Instead, belonging is an individual subjective experience that varies by person, by context, and that it can't be forced. You ask the student questions about who they are, what they care about, what they think about things. And through the investment of that inquiry, then the student actually has the perception that this person cares about me. This institution sees me for who I am, not just based on my potential ability to perform on these tests or to ask the right questions in class, but an investment in understanding who I am and my experiences. And that is one of the best ways of creating that subjective experience that you do belong. And in any one of these situations, if the individual student concludes to themselves that the answer is the negative, then again, the consequential behavior is the same. They disengage.
When I do my culture box, I tell them, the things that represent me. And then I also let them know, here's my experience, here's where I come from, here's what I bring. And then throughout the class, I also really, tie in the things that they're learning to the things that I've done. So since they are very targeted throughout the semester, by the time we get to them, they know me, they have some credibility, we have a foundation that we're building on. And then it just helps to strengthen my relationship with my students.
My advice to other faculty is, don't make it so hard. It's not that hard. It's just get out of your head and get out of this professor mindset and just be human, be you, and really make an effort to get to know students. You don't have to have all the answers. Students just want you to be available, and they want someone who cares and who can just listen and even help them strategize.
And getting to know the students is so important. I think it's very important for them to understand that I know who they are. I try to do that early in the semester, relate to where they're from, and tell them how they've been succeeding and how they're able to do, what it is that you're teaching at a level that's comparable to somebody who's out there in the legal profession today.
Frankly, I think the best way is to show that you want to get to know them. You want to get to know the student. Things that I've found to be really effective in the classroom are, again, to work in small groups. I think flipping the classroom so you're not the one doing this Socratic kind of machine gun sort of onslaught onto one student at a time. Give them a chance to work with each other to solve a problem. You'd be amazed at how much they can teach each other.
I would say to affirmatively seek out your students rather than waiting for your students to seek you out. Students feel so isolated and lonely. They're really looking for connection, and we can be the first step.
My name's Haider Al-Hamoudi. I'm the interim dean at the University of Pittsburgh School of Law, basically the chief executive officer of the law school. So I do serve as the first Muslim law dean of the United States Law School, and that creates a certain degree of uncertainty as well, because one is always worried about saying or doing something that is somehow going to be perceived as representing an entire group of people. And am I really up for that task? Can I really do that? And honestly, transitions and uncertainties are something that I consider part of my life really from the time that I was young. When I entered the United States, although I was born here, we went back to Iraq soon thereafter, I spoke English with a bit of an accent. I still remember certain times at which I was made fun of, and certainly my father was made fun of, and come back with an American, I don't understand what you're saying, and the kinds of challenges that presented always made me feel a little bit like an outsider. I always consider those kinds of uncertainties as sort of inherent, and I find the best way to deal with them is to be aware of them. Because if a student doesn't feel like they have a sense of belonging, if a student doesn't feel like they're in the right place, and if a student doesn't feel well, there's nothing you're going to be able to do to help them overcome whatever challenges there are with respect to the bar or with respect to the employment. That inherent sense of uncertainty will continue to gnaw.
I didn't come straight through from undergrad. I took a couple of years off, so I was definitely uncertain about my ability to get back into a student mindset.
My question was, can I do this? Because at the time I was a mom of a really young child, so I was balancing work, school, and home life. So I really questioned, can I do this? Can I devote the time required? And to deal with that, I just sought out mentors and sought out my professors who just were really wonderful, had open doors and helped encourage me, helped me come up with strategies to balance everything.
I kind of came to the law quite late in my life. I went to library school late, and then I went to law school. I think I was worried about how different it was going to be from when I had actually been in college. You'd have to just tell yourself that everybody's in the same place, really. Everybody's a little bit nervous, at least a little bit nervous, and you just have to sort of stick with it and believe in yourself and know that you can do it.